and welcome to Dark Horse Comics at WonderCon. We are so excited to meet you in your homes today, even though we can't see you in person. I think we're all getting kind of used to this, though. Today, I'm joined with some creators from the YouNeek universe with YouNeek Studios. Dark Horse just recently announced that we have a new partnership with them, and we're so excited to get more people aware of their already fantastic material and introduce more of it to you all. I'm going to have all our creators introduce themselves, and then I'm going to have Roye here talk a little bit about what the YouNeek Studios universe is. Roye, do you want to go ahead and say hello first?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Roye Okupe. I am the CEO of YouNeek Studios, also the creative director and writer on the YouNeek graphic novels. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here today to talk about comics. I'm really grateful for Dark Horse for their support in this partnership, the partnership on this project, on this program. And we have a lot of amazing things to bring to you guys that we're going to be talking about in a second. So I'll let Morby go and introduce himself next.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good evening or good day, depending on where you are. Yeah, I'm Toyin Ajetunmobi, also known as Morby. I work primarily as the color artist for the graphic novels, and yeah, I'm grateful for this opportunity to be able to be a part of this. So yeah, it's nice to see everyone. It's nice to be here.
Sunkanmi, the maestro.
Hi everyone. How's your day going? My name is Akinboye Sunkanmi. I am the artist on let's say most of the YouNeek books. I'm not the only artist, definitely, but I've been with Roye from literally the beginning, from the first book, and I'm happy that we got this far, and we're working with Dark Horse. So, yay!
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah. So, Kate, like you said, I wanted to just quickly give an overview of YouNeek Studios. So basically, for us, our mission is to empower African creatives and African storytelling, whether that's through comics, animation, TV, film, whatever the case may be. And one of the things that, like I said, we're most proud of is getting to this point where we're able to have this partnership with Dark Horse to bring to more people all over the world these characters. All our stories are inspired by African history, culture, and mythology, but these stories are created for everyone. These are global stories with characters that are compelling, that anybody can see themselves in. And that's what we pride ourselves on is just creating characters that are compelling and relatable who happen to be African. And that's what I feel like separates us from a lot of people and gives us, quote unquote, a unique point of view in the, sorry, I had to do that. A unique point of view in the entertainment industry. But I also want to shout out the artists that are not here today that have been part of us in one way or the other. Ayodele Elegba, Chima Kalu, Etubi Onicheyu, Tarela Pablo, Raphael, Kazim, and of course, Godwin Akpan, who has done most of the covers, for all the book as well. One of the things that I've always been very proud of is when I started doing comics, I wanted to make sure that I let people understand that when it comes to talent, Africa can stand with the world. And you get to see that in each page of our books, that from the writing to the coloring to the lettering, that we do have something to say in this industry, and we have more to bring to the table in the future with the YouNeek books.
Great. Yeah. Wow. That was a perfect introduction. It's like you've done that before.
That's right.
So I kind of wanted to ask all of you, how did you guys sort of get interested in comics in the first place?
So, you want to go first?
Okay. Comic books. I think I've always loved comic books. My first comprehensive drawing, I jumped from Stickman to drawing Voltron. From stick figures, I just went straight to draw. I drew my own lion, and I was blown away, But formally, I started in 2003.
Nice.
Before then, I was working for a newspaper cartoonist. And then 2003, I got my first comic book job, which literally paid an amount I cannot say now, but I can probably never say it. But I was having way too much fun, and I never looked back ever since.
Awesome.
Morby.
Yeah, so I'm fairly newer to. I'm fairly younger than Sukomi and Mr. Ray. So while they'll say that their influences are probably Voltron, my influence is what's it called? This comic book, this soccer comic book that was
Super
popular in
Strikers?
Nigeria. Yeah, Super
Super
Strikers.
Striker.
Like, yeah, Super Strikers. So yeah, before then I've been watching animations and all, but like my very first contact with a comic book, was Super Strikers. So for me then it was more about what blew my mind was the fact that we could capture what was done in animation on paper. Yeah, like because animation wasn't so easy to come by, and in 15 minutes it's gone. But with a book, it's with you, all anytime you want to read it. So I started working professionally 2015. 2015 was when I started working professionally. So since then it's just been getting better and better. I'm not as old. How do I say it now? I
Stop
it
calling
was
me.
just
Stop
recent.
calling me
You keep,
old.
you keep saying
No,
you're
no, no,
old.
not old.
You're not old.
What I mean is my involvement with YouNeek is fairly recent. It's just barely 2 years, just about 2 years. So I'm glad to come to continue the legacy that even the colorists before me and I've started, and it's a great privilege to work with someone as skilled as Mr. Sukomi. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, as the old man on this panel, for me, actually, I got into comics by accident. Honestly, I got into comics because I was too broke to do animation. As funny as that sounds, it ended up being one of the best things that happened to me because, like Morby said, this medium is just amazing. There's so much you get to do, through the pages of a comic book. And just again, I think it's a very personal medium. Like when you have a reader going through a comic book, and it's just something that you appreciate more as you flip through page by page. And I fell in love with the medium when I realized how much flexibility and how much liberation that I could get. It's like I could just wake up, write, find people as talented as these two or more people, partner with them, and be able to tell my own stories and literally just beam it out to the world, as opposed to animation where there's so much that has to go right for you before you can even get a chance to tell your stories. But yeah, I've been reading comics since I was a kid. Animation was my first love. But now, like comic books, I wouldn't say it's my first love, but it's I hate to use this word, but I guess mistress to animation. I'm sorry, I'm telling very terrible jokes today. I don't know why. But I love the medium so much. And it's something that I plan to be a part of for a very, very long time, just because, like I said, it's just that place that you can really get to tell so many fantastic stories.
Yeah. And then, so I guess I know how you guys got into comics, but specifically, how did you become involved with the YouNeek universe?
Yeah, I think I can go on that one. Like, when I first started YouNeek Studios and I knew I wanted to do comics, I reached out to someone called Ayodele Elegba. Ayodele Elegba is one of the biggest names in Nigerian or even African comics. He's the one that runs the annual Lagos Comic Con, which I believe had the 2019 was like either the 8th year or 9th. I can't remember. Ayodele is very well respected in the industry. And I went to him and I said, look, I want to do comic books, but I want to keep the authenticity of the stories that I'm trying to tell, because I want to tell African stories. And I want to make sure that not only do I keep the authenticity, but I want to involve African people that are on the continent, to be able to produce this content, because I feel like they have a lot to bring to the table when it comes to mainstream, comics, as well. And Ayodele Elegba introduced me to Sukomi. And after 2 years of fighting, like I was saying before the panel, like we fought a lot in our first 2 years, but it's because we are very passionate about the craft. And Sukomi is a master of his craft. So I got to learn, honestly, and I've never said this to you, I got to learn a lot from him about making comics, because that was my first writing experience in comics, and he had been drawing comics for a while before that. and he was someone that was very, very lenient with me early on with my some of my terrible writing mistakes and extremely ridiculous paneling. Like at some point, I think I started putting 12 panels on one page, and he would just come back to me and
Wow.
like, what are you doing? Like, honestly. But that's how I got to know Sunkanmi. But Morby is somebody that in 2016 I started to notice some of the stuff that he was doing, and I always wanted to work with him because when it comes to like mood lighting, like he's one of the best at doing that in comics, and I was just very fascinated about how
God hand.
Yeah, that's what we call him, the God hand, and that was my first introduction to his work, and I was like, look, I want to work with this guy, one day, and then I believe 2019 was the first time that I reached out to him and I said, look, I want you. What is it going to take for you to be on the book? And he was very gracious to be able to say, look, I've always respected you and what you're doing, and yeah, let's work together. So that, I guess, is the story. Guys, did I miss anything else? I know I can talk all day long.
No, it's fine.
I think we covered all the basics.
Okay, yeah, so that's basically the story of how we all met.
Nice, perfect. And then I guess for each of you, what advice do you have for young creators who are kind of looking to start comics?
So Sunkanmi as the second oldest guy, as Morby was saying.
There we go again with the old thing. I'm not old. I'm just well-aged. All right. Advice I would have for young creators who want to break into the comic book industry. First thing I would say is discipline. As much as everybody wants to draw amazing art, everyone wants to put out amazing stuff, but you need to understand that you need to be able to do this both on your good days and your bad days. So, and the discipline is something that maybe a lot of young creators lack. They just want to draw something cool, but then there are times when you can't draw something cool. Like for instance, when Roye decides to put 200 people into one panel, and and then thankfully I don't have any hair to pull out. I do a little dance in my office, I scream a little, then I sit down and say, you can walk through this, So so you have to be able to deliver the same quality consistently. So discipline is probably the biggest advice I would give any young creator. Be disciplined.
To be honest, he's not exaggerating. There's times where I've literally said like a crowd of about 100 to 200 people. So that's not an exaggeration. But yeah, Morby, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. Since the old guy has started on his serious notes.
Oh, I'm gonna get you for that.
Yeah, I think I'll just say patience, because especially visual arts, it takes a while to get really good. It really takes a while. I really don't know any shortcuts. So while you're being disciplined and showing up to your practice table every day, I think patience is another important ingredient. So just trust the process and be patient at it, and eventually good things will come out of it. That's basically it. It's what has worked for me, so I feel like it's something that could work for anybody.
And Morby is talking from some painful experience. Like sometimes I have like 100 corrections for him, and I'm sure sometimes he's looking at me like,
I think,
I've been there. Those first 2 years, I've been there.
I don't. Every time we make corrections, the page just gets better. I'm having
that's true.
2 more experienced eyes looking at it, and the page or the cover gets better, and it's like the first version just looks like crap compared to what we've worked on. So it's something that I really appreciate.
Yeah, I think Morby and Sunkanmi have said one of the, I believe, the 2 most crucial things when it comes to any type of creative endeavor, whether that's comics, or whether you're doing animation, video games. Like discipline is something that is key, and being patient. I would say humility is, for me personally, the number one thing. You have to be humble enough to know that I don't know everything. You have to be humble enough to know that I can learn from other people. You have to be humble enough to know that you're not always going to be right. And even though you're the one that is either leading a project or giving instruction or writing a script, you don't know everything, right? You know, and you don't, you can't always come from that perspective. So humility, I think, is extremely important, and it's something that I feel like anybody that is starting out absolutely must have.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess kind of from there, so obviously the determination, the patience, the humility to get stuff done is something that everyone who needs to go into comics either has to have already or learns very quickly. But there's a lot of more intricate sort of, I guess, specifics on process that a lot of people don't really think about before they get started in comics. Like if they're drawing on your own, you know, there's only so much you have to deal with. But comics are such a collaborative process. So I guess kind of from there, like Sunkanmi, like, do you prefer when you get scripts from Roye that are like really detailed, or do you kind of like to have a little bit more room to decide what you do yourself?
I actually like it when it gives me a detailed script, but detailed, but with the liberty to make adjustments. So, because I like him to put everything out, you know, get as visually loud as possible, you know, let him go crazy with it. Then I can say, okay, but what he usually does is he will stipulate what absolutely has to show up on the page.
Nice.
And then he's going to put a lot of his ideas, what ifs, we could do this, we could do that. Now I understand their suggestions, so I get to work with exactly what he needs, and then I get to put my own take on it. So I like a detailed script because I like to get the mind of the writer.
Nice. And then Morby, when things hit your desk, sort of what is your process when you start coloring a page? Do you have a lot of notes beforehand? Do you know sort of a color palette that you pick for a book? How much of that is your individual choice while you're coloring?
Oh yeah. Well, there are some things that aren't like my individual choices. I need to follow the script in terms of this is a day scene, this is a night scene, and there's some undertones I need to pick up, like, oh, this scene has a serious conversation, or it's an uplifting vibe, you know, like I remember towards the end of Malika 4.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil
Basically,
it.
so you know, there were a series of intense scenes, so I needed to, you know, pick that up from the script. And yeah, so in terms of process, that then at the end of every page, because I used to make this mistake before, at the end of every page, I have a checklist that I have to check that is this person's logo, you know, have you put this person's logo on him or her, you know, things like just basically some things that mark each character. So for each page, I have to check if I've crossed that list, because I made some mistakes. I had issues about that before. So yeah, so that's basically the process. It all starts from the scripts, really. It all starts from the scripts. Yeah.
Good. That makes a lot of sense. And then Roye, have you sort of over time, have you developed sort of a way that you like to set up your scripts, or did it, you know, how much has it changed from when you first started writing scripts to now? Do you add a lot more detail? Have you changed the way you work with people?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much stayed the same, but I wanted to say something to what both of them had said. Like, you know, Sunkanmi, you know, he brought up a point about being able to bring himself into the world of these characters, and to me, that's very important. I think being collaborative is very key, because again, you don't know everything, right? So that I intentionally, when I write, especially for people that are going to do pencils and inks, I always say, look, this absolutely story-wise, you have to do this. And it's even more crucial for me because we're doing a connected universe. So sometimes an artist might not know that something that's happening here is connected to a book that comes, you know, 4 years later, whatever the case may be. So sometimes I'll say, this absolutely has to happen. And I would either highlight those or, you know, put it in red sometimes, because like you can't make a mistake here. But more often than not, I would say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. But if you feel like, you going crazy or changing it, just let me know, and I'm fine with that. But again, Sunkanmi has spoiled me because we've worked for so long now that when sometimes like I write in shorthand for him, I can't necessarily even show other people the scripts that I show him because there's a lot of shorthand. And sometimes, and he's very humble. He won't say this. He's also a martial artist. So when it comes to fighting, sometimes I would just say, I would literally just say, all right, I'm too tired to write this fight scene. These two people fight. These are the styles of fighting. One knows kung fu. One is, using capoeira. This is the person that wins. In the middle, this is what should happen. This is where the fight changes, and then he just fills in the blanks. But there are sometimes like where there are fight scenes that are so story centric that I have to actually choreograph and say this and this and this happens. But again, I try to always give liberty because I feel like the books, not that I know that the books won't be as good as they are if Sunkanmi and Morby and the rest of the people that I've worked with don't bring themselves into it. And they deserve a lot of credit, not just for the art, but also, story-wise as well, because there's a lot that they bring into the table that weren't necessarily in the script, from the beginning. So it's important that people know that, artists aren't just work for hire, where it's like, oh, we're just here to do a job. They bring a lot to the table that you don't necessarily get to see when the final work is done. But that's why opportunities like this are important for us to shine a light and celebrate them in a way that they can be appreciated more.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Then I'm going to let Morby and Sunkanmi go because it's their evening time, and Roye and I are going to keep talking. But first, I have one more question for you guys both. What do you hope people gain from your work? So since we're your partner with Dark Horse now, our dream is that you're going to catch a whole new audience and a lot more people are going to see what the beautiful worlds that you guys have made. But what do you hope people gain the most from what they see in your work?
Who's going first? For me, I would want people to get proper representation, to understand proper representation of the African culture, African characters, African history. We know we have Black characters in Marvel, DC, Dark Horse. We have Black characters and all, but story-wise, character-wise, personally, I feel they are not quite African enough, in delivery. So, and that's something that I want people to be able to see in my work, and also my storytelling. I said I started with a cartoonist, and what it made me do was it made me draw without adding any text for them to speak. So he said, if people can't understand what you draw without the text, they are not doing it right. So that's the first thing I had to learn. So that's something I want people to be able to see my work and not have to read calculus before they get what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for me.
Yeah. So for me, remember I said that one of the things that fascinates me about the medium comic books is that we get to capture what we see on animation and film, in a static form on pages. So when I'm working on the pages, what I'm trying to go for is that, just capturing mood, right? Capturing the emotions for each page. Okay. So, and I think it's something, it's more of something that, I lean more heavily on the technique side of things. So I think it's something I would like to reemphasize for upcoming colorists is that we should treat each page or each panel as a painting. And we should make each of those panels rich enough. So that's something I would want people to see when they look at pages colored by me, is that there are moods that you can literally see. Because I admire that a lot in some senior colleagues in the industry. So that's something I really hope to achieve with each page.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, your guys' work is truly stunning, and I'm really excited for people to see more of it. It's been an absolute delight every time I see more of your stuff coming through my desk to explore more. So I'm super stoked for people to see a lot more of it as we keep going forward. But now I'm going to let you guys be free and enjoy your evenings.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good one, and thanks for chatting.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks very much.
Bye, everyone. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Perfect. So, Roy, it's just the two of us now. And we're
Yes,
going
it
to talk
is.
a little bit more in depth about kind of the world that you've been building sort of more on a not logistic scale, but
Right.
like on a grander scale, I
Yeah.
guess.
Right.
So you are truly a delight to work with. Like you are so organized and you have an entrepreneur spirit like so few creators that I really know. Obviously, I love all my creators, but you get me everything exactly on time. You are so organized and prepared for all of it. How did that begin for you? When did the YouNeek universe become your job, your gig, your passion?
I mean, to me, it's something that I've always prided myself on is when I started this, I never really just looked at it as, oh, I'm just self-publishing. I've always looked at YouNeek Studios as a mega corporation, and not from a prideful standpoint or, being boastful, but the mindsets of having a company that, okay, even though it was just me, I want to treat it as, I had $10 million in the bank and, I was responsible for that. And I had to treat, employees at that time, obviously myself, the right way. And I had to, do things in the right way for me. So for me, the first thing that I did when I knew I wanted to, okay, have a publishing company was I wanted to learn business. Like, whether or not, okay, I'm going to be a publisher, or I'm going to be a mechanic, whatever the case may be, there are certain fundamentals of business that you have to have for, each, whatever it is that you're doing. And those fundamentals are marketing, PR, accounting, public relations, how to interact with your peers, how to interact with people that you work with, how to be prepared, budgeting, understanding finance. Like, so these are things that I bought a lot of books on, I read about, and I wanted to make sure that I had the foundation of being a business owner. Like, I incorporated my company, every time I wrote a book, I made sure it was copywritten. Every time that I created a character, I make sure I, trademarked the name and things like, so I've always looked at things from a very, very, I hate to use the word like corporation type of mindset, but I feel like if you give the respect to your material, because obviously the flash and great stories and great art, like those are great things, and that's what people see first. But there's a bunch of things that go behind that actually propel people to success. And I knew it was going to come in handy when I finally got a break, especially now, talking about Dark Horse. And I'm able to put that to work. So when you talk to me about PR or marketing, you don't have to explain anything to me because I know exactly what I need to do. When you guys talk to me about submitting things on time or looking into this or interviews or conventions, I know exactly what to do. So I want to use that as an opportunity to tell people out there that you can't ignore the fundamentals. And that's really what separates people, successful people in this industry, is people who have mastered the fundamentals and not just look at the creative side of things.
Yeah, and I think one of the key things of what you just said there is like it's not necessarily just for you, like you started and you were your own employee, but like also you're bringing in a lot of creators from Africa who, I mean, obviously their voices are necessary and important, but like without your kind of guidance through that, like in such a professional way, it would be a lot harder for us to get those voices. How important was that like absolutely like the first thing that kind of came to be, is you knew you wanted African voices to be telling these stories, or did that kind of come along with the process?
No, from day one, that's what I wanted to do. And I always, I try to preface those comments. I don't say that because I don't work with people that are not African or African, American. Like I want to make sure that people understand, a lot of people on the continent where I was born and raised don't get these type of opportunities. And I don't want to look at someone like, like I'm the one that's, providing all the job. No, that's not what it is. If I have an opportunity to provide a platform for African artists to expose their art, I mean, that's I want to take that opportunity first. There's tons of stuff I do with other people, but my priority is exposing people on the continent to a mainstream audience as it pertains to whether it's comic books and hopefully in the future animation, TV, and film. Like it's part of the mission of the company is to empower African creatives and storytelling. So it's not just the storytelling part of things. It's like the creative people as well. I feel like they just do so much great work, and their work needs to be seen more in mainstream media.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. And I think that, I mean, when this product or when this line kind of came through to me, that was one of the things that I was most excited about, was just the fact that, I mean, Dark Horse has published Black voices before, and we work with like 9844, who publishes African stories.
Yeah.
But there's such a hole there in our industry that really is filled by things like YouNeek, and obviously YouNeek is unique to itself in that, but
right.
I think that I think it's something that's growing, but I think it's people, like you, who are like organized on top of it, like have their own companies and stuff, who really bring that to light and are really, really cool. And fun.
And again, I also want to give kudos to you guys at Dark Horse. I know people may see it as biased, but it takes people that are actively looking for things like this and believe in this type of material, to be able to say, hey, this is great work. And it's not a thing where it's like, oh, we just want to fill a quota. You guys actually respect the work, and you guys have shown that to me. So I want to make sure I say it in a public forum, that this is something where Dark Horse made the effort to actually say we want to be part of the people that give more opportunities to stories like this and creators like myself. As well, I know now, with everything that happened last year, it's a sexy thing to be able to say, okay, diverse, creators, and we're empowering that, but our talks my talks with Dark Horse started before all that. So I want to make sure that I put that out there, to be able to say that, you guys saw, something in not just me, but, the entire world. And you guys took, it wasn't a long back and forth and struggle like, oh, you guys saw it, recognized it, and kudos to you guys for taking that chance. And I know that this is something that's going to be extremely great for all parties involved. And even I think the consumer is going to be the best benefit of this.
Absolutely.
As well too.
Yeah, no, I mean, your Kickstarters have been truly like huge, and I mean, Iyanu made thousands of dollars. Like, it was well backed. So I think Dark Horse saw not necessarily just like the voice that we need them, but it's also like there's good business here. These are voices that there's a hole in our industry that we I think people are starting to see a lot more, and I'm grateful that we are able to swoop in and get YouNeek before anyone else got you. I think any company would be lucky to work with you guys.
Thank you, appreciate that.
As far as I mentioned the Kickstarter, I guess that's something where it's an interesting place where people have started to kind of develop more and more. But I mean, obviously Kickstarter's been around for such a long time, but even then, like you started kind of as Kickstarter was sort of gaining steam. Do you have any advice for people who are looking at Kickstarter now that it's grown so much?
Yeah, one thing that I always try to tell people about Kickstarter, and I'm very fortunate, I'm grateful for a platform like Kickstarter, because I think a lot of what has happened in my career, has a lot to do with having a platform where I can just go out and say, this is a story I'm trying to tell, and people can, quote unquote, back, that, potential. So Kickstarter has been great for so many creators. But if I were to tell people now, because obviously a lot of people are on Kickstarter, one misconception that people have is that that's where you get your audience. Kickstarter is a place now where you bring an audience, and then your audience makes a lot of noise for you, and then a new audience sees the noise that people are making, and they join that audience. So what am I talking about? Because that's a lot of the use of the word audience. But look at it this way: you have two identical projects that look great on Kickstarter. They both launched on the same day, and I, as someone who's just browsing Kickstarter trying to buy a book, I see, okay, project A looks exactly as project B. They're both interesting, but one of them has 50% funded in 2 hours, and the other one has 10% funded in 2 days. they look at identical, but as a human being, my brain is going to gravitate towards the one that, how is this funded, halfway already in 2 hours? Like at that point in time, it becomes less about the quality. And don't get me wrong, quality matters.
Yeah.
But, as human beings, we want to be part of success, right? So people look at that 50% and they're like, wow, I want to be part of this. Why are people here? So they go on that, they fall in love with the story, and they become, part of your audience, So, but that's what the audience from outside does for you, is that you can bring your audience, you can gravitate them, have them get you as close as possible to the finishing line. And that just starts the momentum, for you. So if I had one thing to say, it would be, get your audience outside first, whether that's through social media, you build a newsletter, or you're giving out free copies of your book online, to build your fan base, and then do that for a couple of months, then launch a Kickstarter, then use those people to, build momentum, and you should have a better chance of being successful, as well.
Yeah. And then, so speaking of Kickstarter, so you started on Kickstarter, joined Dark Horse, but in the process, you've also got something else in the works. Iyanu, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm a little less clear on kind of the direct line as far as film TV goes.
Yeah.
So you have a producer, correct, in an animation studio?
Yes, we do. There's a lot that I can't say now.
I know, yeah.
No. But what I can say is that we've made huge strides with Iyanu. And again, Iyanu is such an amazing project. It's one that honestly, I saw a lot of potential in it when I was writing the character. I spent a lot of time. Iyanu is literally like a mini universe within the YouNeek universe. I spent almost 3 years, just doing world building on that. So it's a massive project, but it's also something that's I believe very unique. Like, when you look at, main characters being a teenage female African girl, as a lead character, you don't get to see that every day. So a lot of people gravitate towards that because it's just something new and compelling, and it looks magical, and the story is brilliant, but I say all that to say that a lot of people outside the comic book industry immediately also see that as potential. So we've been able to have so many people approach us. Right now, we're partnered with some studios and some producers. Again, I can't say too much about it, but what I can say is that we're well on our way to getting to a point where this becomes hopefully an animated series, as well. And a lot of stuff will be coming out in the future about that. So fingers crossed, everybody that's a fan of YouNeek Studios and Iyanu, that it gets over that proverbial hump, because animation, like I said at the beginning of this is very hard, even when you have great stuff.
Yeah, no, that is true. And there's always a point where everything is secret, but really, really exciting. And it's all of a sudden, it's going to be like a switch when you can talk about it. And then it's just the ball's going to keep going from there. Hopefully. So yeah, definitely. If you're watching this, follow YouNeek Studios on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, follow Dark Horse, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We'll keep you up to date with all announcements that come forward from this. And then we're getting close to closing out here. But I guess for people who have, YouNeek started because it was a great idea. There was a hole in the market. What's your number one piece of advice for people who have great ideas like YouNeek?
Man, one is very hard, but again, honestly, it may
sound, have more than one.
I think for me, it may sound like, I'm just trying to be, I think humility is the first thing that you have to have, because this industry, first of all, is very close knit. A lot of people know a lot of people, and I just, for me, I think that's something that has served me very well, is just, again, knowing that I don't know everything, and then also being very respectful to everybody that I come in contact with, whether or not I work with them or I don't, or they become a fan or they don't, or they become a customer or they don't. I think just the humility of, again, knowing that you don't know everything, that's going to allow you to try to educate yourself as much as possible, and just treating people with common decency, and being a good person to people, I think goes a very, very long way. So I would say humility in attitude, but when it comes down to actual, maybe, technique or, business savvy, I would say you have to start with a very, very good idea, and you have to, be able to look at it from the standpoint of, okay, I have a good idea, but I need a good foundation around this good idea to be able to make it successful. And that's what, in the beginning, that's why I brought into, okay, what do you know about, starting to be in a business or a sole proprietor? How do you raise money for this thing? Are you going to use Kickstarter? How does Kickstarter work? What are some successful projects that I can mimic? What are some unsuccessful projects that I can look in and stay away from things that they did? Because I think you learn more from failure than success. Honestly, I have to be honest. Like, even for me, one thing that I try to do more often now is, as much as I celebrate successes, I try to tell people things that went wrong on the way to those successes, because I want people to not necessarily make the same mistakes I make, but also learn from the mistakes that I made as well. So I think educating yourself about the business of comics is something that's very crucial. And you juxtapose that with humility, and I think you're off to a great start.
Great. I think that is some perfect advice. This industry is small, it's changing all the time. And so it's just, being aware that not everything is going to go perfectly. The first time around, the second time around, the fifth time around,
the 100th time around.
But I think that's perfect advice. So, like I said earlier, for those of you watching, thank you for joining us on this conversation. Follow YouNeek Studios. Is it just at YouNeek Studios on everything?
Yes, at YouNeek Studios, YOUNWEK, and then the word studios, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, although I don't know the last time I was on there. It's on there somewhere. Yeah.
Perfect. And then you can also find all our updates on, the Dark Horse side of things at Dark Horse Comics. I think pretty much everywhere you'll find us. If you just type in Dark Horse, you will just find Katy Perry, but add the comments and you'll get there. Roye, it is always a pleasure talking to you. And people are going to see a lot more of you in the future, both from Dark Horse and far, far beyond us as well. So
thank you so much. And again, I appreciate this opportunity, to be able to broaden the audience for this material. I love all you guys at Dark Horse, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I'm really excited about this program and what it's going to do for the industry.
Great. Awesome.